Welcome to the IDP Hunter podcast on the RPO Football Show Network, hosted on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Play podcasts. I'm here with my host tonight, Jamie Perot, going for two. He's also on Going for Two live show and the Sit Start show. He also does over the Fantasy Six Pack. He does the wide receiver cornerback matchups each week. So I'm excited to talk to you, my friend. As you guys know, I am a writer over on the IDP Center, the Fantasy Six Pack, and the RPO Football Network. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. I'm joined by its founder, Leo McNeeley. You can find him, Master IDP, over on Twitter. He is the founder of RPO. He's a contributor over at the Fantasy FTN Fantasy Football. What's interesting about Leo is 2022, 2023, he's the number one IDP ranker. Leo, how you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Steve.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to talk some football with you. You know, I'm curious, Leo. I haven't been on here today, but I just wanted to take a peek-see over at the Fantasy Pros. I want to look at the accuracy rankings here. You've been doing great all year. I don't know if you want to share any of your secrets with the audience, but just by contrast here, I'm looking season to date. You're the top dog last year, the top dog the year before, and I'm looking at it right now, my friend. Congratulations. If my calculations are correct, like Doc Holliday used to say, right? You are once again, you are the number one IDP ranker in all of the land. So congratulations. All that football knowledge, Jamie, I can't provide it to you. I feel a bit insecure, okay? I can't give it to you because you're a top offensive guy. Leo is your number one IDP ranker in all the land. So congratulations, Leo.
Yeah, congrats. So you're my go-to guy. Every time I have a start sit, I always just look for your name.
Thanks.
I'm just chopped liver now. And you know what? You guys share a common bond. You two are in Scott Fishbowl together. Leo, what's your rank right now?
I'm number 3 out of 3,996 teams.
We got the right guy on this show, Jamie. We got the number 3 Scott Fishbowl guy. We got the number 1 IDP ranker, and we got the founder of RPO Football. Before we kick this thing off, I just had a quick question for you in regards to this site. I love it. You know, I'm also on here too. I'm a contributor as well. I do the Every Down Linebacker article, which we'll get into. We got great betting over here. We got great system. What made you want to make a website for football?
Well, so I mean, my first year I started writing some IDP articles and did some IDP rankings, and I just kind of wanted the freedom to kind of put all my knowledge into one spot and cover all the bases that I really wanted on a website. So that pretty much I wanted the freedom to be able to put all this spot into one place. You know, I come from, you know, I'm an accountant, and a lot of times I'm a tax accountant. A lot of these accounting firms, they want to put the focus on audit. And it's just like, well, a lot of these fantasy football sites want to put the focus on offense. And so it's just like, I wanted a site that was going to be focused on defense and, you know, really cover defense from A to Z and not miss anything in between and not have it kind of be an afterthought, you know, just kind of being, you know, served a minor audience. I wanted that to be our main audience. So I wanted to be able to have a one spot stop for everybody and have some of the best IDP contributors on one site.
Amen. You said it. Amen. Right there. I love that you said that. And you know, I don't know how you are about offense. I can go down a pecking order. Defense, it changes all the time with trends and what have you. You know, you got some of the best talent in the world. Jamie, if you go on the site, they're always running promos. If you guys type in IDP Hunter, you get $10 off per subscription for full year access. That's a promo we got going on right now as well. But when you go on this site, you got so many collections of talents. We got guys from Brazil writing. We got Mace Riney writing, myself writing, Big Steve. I'm really impressed, Leo, with you have a betting guy, tackle box props. He's 31-8 against the spread, Jamie. 31-8 for IDP betting.
On unders, on under bets. So on the under tackle bet. So if most people like to bet the overs, they're going to get over 7.5 tackles or something. He finds these opportunities, that are unders, betting that the guy's not going to get to that many tackles, and he's 31-8 on them.
Wow.
I can't believe that 31-8 on anything. Like I was saying earlier in the chat, dude, I'm only like maybe barely cracking 50%. So, you bettors out there, this out, man. We got a promo code Hunter. It is for $10 off full season access. Go to RPO Football. Check these guys out. We had award-winning rankings. We got betting. We got all kinds of stuff. Jamie, do you have any questions for Leo? Because we talk all the time. Leo's probably tired of hearing my voice by now.
I mean, no, not really. How do you be so accurate every year after year?
I mean, it's a grind. I mean, like, we're scouring, all these injury reports. We're staying up to date on the latest, depth chart changes. We're looking at playing time, not only just, looking at snap counts, but looking at, what are people saying in articles? What are people saying on Twitter posts as far as like, the beat writers and that stuff. We're just really staying on top of it. Defense doesn't necessarily get served by the media as well as, offense does. Everybody knows about running backs. Even that can be a murky situation, but like we're having to dig into the darkest spots of the web, trying to find these little pieces of anecdotal evidence about, who's going to be starting or who might be seeing a reduction in snap count. So it's really staying up to date on all that little stuff and it all takes time. And we have people that are diving into that on a daily basis for hours at a time, just to be the best at rankings, to be the best at betting on this defensive stuff.
Wow, that's great. You guys looking at any correlations between the offensive line?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a huge thing. I mean, when I'm looking at my defensive line every week, a lot of times I'll pull up those grades for those, offensive linemen. So as I'm filling out my rankings specifically on the defensive line, I'm looking to see, who's giving up lots of sacks and maybe looking at those matchups. So it's really, if you're looking for somebody that's going to bust out with a sack this week, I'm looking at somebody that's facing like the Giants. They lost their starting left tackle a couple weeks ago, and other teams like Tennessee, let up a lot of tackles too. And I know Quinnen Williams has a good matchup this week, so you can kind of go out there and look at. I typically go over to PFF, and they have a nice little chart where you can actually see, the depth chart of offense versus line versus defensive line, and you can really see those grades and see who's going to be facing off against each other. And it's a great tool. I have a lot of different tools in my toolbox that I go to, and that's one that helps me kind of cut through it a little bit and see who's going against who.
And that's genius, and that's why you're the number one ranker.
That's why he is. And you know what? We got him out here for Halloween. So, in honor of Halloween, guys, can we talk a little bit about trick-or-treats? Maybe some trick-or-treats on the waiver wire, trick-or-treat streaming. How about some cursed lineups? What do you think of that? Some cursed lineups, some spooky forecasting for Thursday Night Football. What do you think, Jamie? What do you think?
Yeah, let's hit it, man. Let's get it going.
Let's start with okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go to my fancy six-pack article, the IDP rankings. You guys know I do this every week. I'm going to read a little bit of that. We're going to talk a little bit about streamers, Jamie, just real quick, and then we'll kick it off to Leo. We can talk about trends, but just the streamers, okay? That's my corny dad joke there. We're talking streamers. We're fishing for streams, right? Up the stream here. I don't really have anything, buddy. If you're waiver wiring this week and you missed it, there's really not much this week. I mean, Deo Adegbo, maybe, owned in 4% of leagues. He's coming off a 4 tackle, 1 sack, forced fumble recovery. I got Baron Browning. Arden Key's a popular name this week. That's so hit or miss. Arden Key's the definition of streaming, owned in 5%. Brandon Jones, 20%. Xavier Woods, 15%. Mooring, 15%. Gervin Dexter, he's been pretty good at tackle leagues, 8%. Riley Moss, if you need a corner, 7%. Newton, if you need a defensive tackle, 7% too. I mean, honestly, Jamie, where the talk this week is, and I'm gonna let Leo show us why he's the toughest guy in the land here. All the major talk this week is trending. All the major talk this week is linebackers and stuff like that. So I just wanted to get those names out of the way. If you missed waivers, I'm sorry. It's the end of the week. Those are the only things upstream that I'm seeing. Jamie, any offensive talk for you in regards to streamers?
Quarterbacks, Bo Nix is still only 41% owned. He has the third best matchup against Baltimore. Minshew has the fourth best matchup. He's only 8% owned. If you're going a little bit deeper, Joe Flacco, 17% owned. He's going against Minnesota. They're the 20th versus quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford, a little bit more owned, 50%. He's going against Seahawks. That's 19th versus quarterbacks. And Daniel Jones, 17% against Washington. You heard my trend last week. I don't know if I want to play people against Washington anymore because they were one of the top guys. Now they're the 13th best first quarterbacks. And if you're completely desperate, Jameis Winston, Chargers. Chargers are the 7th best. I'd stay away from him this week, but he's only 17% owned.
Yeah, there's really not a whole lot there, man. I'm staying away from hopefully this week you set your lineups, you have stuff stashed for the bye weeks. Maybe go after some of that if you need to plug your taxi. You know, if you're out there yelling, looking for a taxi in New York City, go ahead and stuff them in there. I don't know. All that stuff scares me. More tricks than treats, if you will. What I wanted to do for this next category, and I'll kick it off to Leo. He can start us off a little bit. Over on the RPO Football Network, Leo is gracious enough to let me write. And I'm pretty proud of this. I do the linebacker injury report, and I do the every down linebacker over here on this site. There's a lot of interesting trends. There's a lot of interesting stuff that you can look at. So, again, as far as trends, Leo, anything noticeable, anything in that maybe you'd want to tell the audience in regards to what you see out there?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is, in your linebacker article, you touched on a few of these guys. Christian Ellis is one. Yeah. He's a great pickup. And tackle box props let me know that he's also DL eligible on Sleeper. So, if you're getting that tackle production at the D line position, that's going to be pretty big. So if you're playing in that IDP 1, 2, 3 on Sleeper, Christian Ellis would be a great pickup. I think he saw 83% of the snaps this past week for New England. Hopefully that stays up there that high. I mean, hopefully it wasn't a kind of a game plan adjustment, but they've been kind of pulling off. Like Raekwon McMillan's been coming out. Jelani Tavai has come out a little bit. If that sticks, you could have a pretty good cheat code there with a linebacker playing DL on Sleeper. So, Jack Campbell saw 95% of the snaps this week with Rodrigo going down. So he's somebody trending up to close to full snaps there. Deion Henley got 100% this week. He didn't have to fight off Perryman and Colson too much this week. And David Long got close to 100%. Omar Spates finally hit the field. I mean, he's only at 44%, but maybe that can keep going. Edgerrin Cooper had he was only 60%, but 9 tackles, a sack, a forced fumble. If he could keep that trend going, that he could help you down the stretch here. And then as far as trending, there's guys trending down though too. We saw Devin Lloyd snaps go down, below 60%. Nate Landman might come down a little bit with Troy Anderson coming back this week. And then you've got some guys that are just struggling, like Matthew Judon and Joey Bosa and even Dorian Williams, who's been a stud.
Dude, you nailed it. Yeah. And just to jump on that, like you said, when you start off with the Patriots, they're the ultimate trick or treat. You got Tavai, and this is why I love writing this article because it keeps me ahead. Tavai actually dropped from every down linebacker. He gets 79% of snaps now. So he's the ultimate jack-o'-lantern. He's up, he's down. I don't know. He's coming out of the box, he's down. So now we have who's going to be the LB2, and it's been McMillan, but last couple of weeks you've seen Ellis come up. So the smart, savvy owners that picked up Ellis, just like Leo just said, You guys are smart. He played 83.9%, and he offered 9 tackles and a sack. I love that one. Ellis has been one that I've been looking at, Leo, this week. Also, you guys, Cleveland Browns. I'm surprised Jamie didn't jump down my neck when I didn't mention the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns got a sweet deal now, right? Everybody's hurt. What's that? I don't even know how to pronounce the name. You guys are going to kill me with this one. Dude comes in. How do you say?
I think it's Mohammed.
Go ahead.
Diabate, I think is
something
I
like
think that's
that.
how you.
The rookie. 100% tackles, Jamie. 8 tackles. Under 100% snaps. Dude's doing it. And then, a lot of people are still targeting Devin Bush. Question for you, Leo. Who do you value there? I'm taking this shot on the rookie over Bush. But, I mean, how do you have it? Is there a pecking order for you with these guys?
Yeah, definitely Diabate is going to be the guy to take. I think he's a great streamer this week. He's kind of near the top of my waiver wire list for this week with Jeremiah Usu-Koromoa out this week. Jordan Hicks still not practicing yet, and he's been banged up. He hasn't been on the field significant amount of snaps all season. So I'm not a big Bush fan. I don't think he has much left in the tank. I don't think he is that productive as well for fantasy. But Diabate's shown some juice, and he's been getting some good rave. He's been putting out some good film, and I think he's somebody that you might want to consider starting this week.
Yeah, and what's a bewitching lineup for me? I'm going to keep rocking these Halloween dad jokes till one of you stops me. You know what a bewitching lineup is right now this week? The ghost of Quay Walker with the Packers. I mean, what are they doing now? They brought in Eric Wilson. Eric Wilson's playing 100% of snaps. He's wearing the green dot. But you know who I want to take a shot at? The rookie, Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper's out-snapping McDuffie. We've been saying that for weeks. He blew up this week, didn't he? What was he, LB2 and 1-2-3 scoring? For people that drafted him as the 1.1 pick, you've had to wait this long to hold him. Probably had him in your taxi the whole time, right? But now he's producing. He's got the forced fumble. He's got the 9 tackles, whatever. He's your LB2 in the role. And, historically, I've said this before, the Packers draft really well. They got players in every single spot. They got players everywhere. And usually what they do is they let these guys kind of sit till they develop. Quay Walker, what is he? I think he's on his final year. I could be wrong about that, but I can see him moving in the next year or two, and I can see Cooper with a full-time role. So that's a dynasty stash for me, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they drafted two rookie linebackers made you kind of head scratch. Like, what is their long-term plans? I mean, Walker was out this week with a concussion, and I expect he'll be back this week. But and that's why
there was a notification on my phone. He is going to be back this week, I believe.
Yeah. So, I think he'll be back probably. I assume close to that 100% back. And Wilson will take a back seat, and they'll keep rotating Cooper and McDuffie. And actually, McDuffie did actually outsnap him the last 2 weeks, but it's it's pretty even. They're both about the same. And so not significant, but just wanted to clarify that a little bit. But Cooper outproduced them, from stat perspective. So like he'd be the one you'd want to get, not McDuffie at this point. I think that trend is going to keep going, and by next year, I think Cooper is going to be the guy.
Speaking of hocus pocus and some ghouls and goblins, I'm gonna keep doing it, guys. You gotta stop me. I'm gonna talk about the Jets with you, Leo. I got a question for you. We know Quincy Williams, 100% guy. Jamie Sherwood's been just stealing snaps, right? Wore the green dot, played 65, 67 snaps. We had a healthy CJ Mosley this week, but he was active and irrelevant. I don't even think he had a snap, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually got a notification on my phone about Mosley. Like, he hadn't even been on the field, but then he came down with a neck injury during the game. Like, what happened? But he's already been ruled out this week. He's been taking a back seat. He had, I think, turf toed. Sherwood was out playing him, but everybody, he's the leader of that defense. Like, he's a captain. He's a vocal leader, I think, in the clubhouse. But Sherwood seems to be outplaying him. I mean, I think I think Quincy Williams still is like at 100%. I think they're running two full linebackers. So let me look at your chart here. Yeah. But Sherwood's been the more productive one. I think I was looking at, this game they play tomorrow, and I think Vegas set both players at 8.5 tackles. But I'd be leaning towards Sherwood over and Quincy under. But I think Sherwood's been more productive recently in his role, and I think he could be the future guy there. So I don't think Mosley is going to get that spot back.
I'm not going to bore the audience. Everybody knows by now. Yeah, right. I don't know. Like I said, I think I would, Quincy Williams being the one dog, I think Sherwood would be my LB2 at the moment. You know what I mean? I'm not going to bore the audience and say CJ Mosley's not good. I'm just saying, just be mindful of that. They did a switch. You know what other team did a switch? Denver Broncos, man. They're letting Quan Alexander get a lot more play. I was more comfortable with Justin Sternard when he was getting 70% plus snap count. Right now, he's still getting good volume. Smoke him if you got him, if you will. But, he's losing that snap count. Eventually, he's going to have a dud or two week. That's just to be expected.
Yeah, I mean, when you're at 61% snaps, 60% the last 2 weeks, like, yeah, you're going to have that dud. I mean, that's part of why, like, I generally try to avoid guys like Dorian when he's coming off the field on third down. I want those guys that are going to have more opportunity. But Sternad's been effective when he's been out there. So, like, yeah, I mean, if you don't have any better option, I mean, I've usually been ranking him around LB 40. So hopefully you have some better options, but he's been playing better than I thought he would be each week. So he might be working for you.
I love what you said about Jack Campbell, finally logging his 94% snaps. This is repetitive now. We know Ernest Jones is good. He comes in, he's playing that second linebacker role, but they're both getting 100% snaps, and he just came in and totally took over. I want to say the Seahawks run a similar scheme as the Titans do. And it's almost like carryover. Ernest Jones has that Bobby Wagner mentorship under him coming back to the Seahawks. So it's almost like bittersweet. They just kind of plugged him in. So I think the audience knows that. And we all know by now it's an Ivan Pace type season now that Blake Cashman's out. Those are my big ones. If I was to punt a little bit deeper, I'm keeping an eye on Dennis with the Buccaneers. Eventually, Britt's going to play himself out. You mentioned Omar Spates. I thought that's a great play. He was coming out on all the obvious passing downs. That's to be expected with rookies. I can see him taking over when Troy Reader's out. I can see Jones keeping his play up. I can see, what else was I going to say there? I can see the Titans, LB3, Jack Gibbons with 8 tackles. He's still somewhat usable again. But do you see anybody else step up?
It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see when Jerome Baker gets incorporated. Like, how do they kind of incorporate him, and how do those snaps shake out between him and Gibbons? Let's see how much they like him. I mean, was he just a throwaway in the trade for depth, or did they have a role for him? In year one. I think Dennis in Tampa Bay. I think his injury is going to keep him out a bit longer. So I don't think he's on the horizon as soon as you're hoping. So I think we have Britt for a bit longer. I'm just looking at the teams here. I mean, I know we have got Dre Greenlaw coming back at some point here. He's somebody hopefully you stashed on your IR if you got it.
Yeah, and kudos to you. You did that in the Kings Classic. I seen you do that. You stashed them away.
That wasn't me. That wasn't me. I thought that was you.
I thought that was.
I thought that was you.
Oh, no. You know what? It was Jorge. It was Jorge Edwards. My mistake. I thought it was you. You stashed somebody. I can't remember who it was. I'm like, dang. Maybe
early in the season,
you did. You were making.
Early in the season, I had all my IR spots were used up. We only got 3 of those, and I didn't have any room. I mean, horrible. If you've got them all, I wish I had an extra spot for it. No, I'm in the Kings Classic, right? It looks like you picked them up because somebody dropped them, so you have them.
Yeah,
Steve.
Jorge dropped them during the bye weeks. Jamie, for content, in Kings Classic, we play both offense and defense, and we only got the same amount of IRs as those guys. So we're bleeding right now, aren't we, Leo?
It's been tough some weeks.
Yeah, I don't really have any other trends. I like what you said about Greenlaw. I like what you said about Dennis. Possibly Christian Harris if he's out there sleeping, but he's owned in a lot of leagues. So, the Texans are not going to keep that rotation like they do.
But he's shown no sign of life. He must have had a setback or something with Christian Harris. Like, there's been no positive news about him getting anywhere close to the field. So I wish we had a little bit better news. Every week somebody's asking me about him.
Must have. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, so those are my guys. Leo, do you have anybody else in that trend category? I'm just curious your thoughts.
I think I covered most everybody. I think so. I like to keep an eye on these injuries. Like I got some guys for them. I don't know if we're going to talk about Thursday night. I got a couple guys there that I'm looking at, but I'm keeping an eye on like the injury in Carolina at safety. Whether or not Jordan Fuller comes back from the IR. That's a little bit deeper as we get into defensive backs. Those injuries can make or break a week when you're trying to just scrap by and get some points. So always good to stay up on those injuries. And there's not many sites that do what we do, is put that defensive injury report out there. I think that's huge when it comes to, getting those weekly matchups. So I appreciate you doing that, Steve.
Oh yeah, it's so fun to do. It's like a treat, man. Like, because I like to, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, who's the next man up? How's this gonna? And you're a numbers guy, and I'm analytical as well. I like looking at the numbers. Like, okay, this guy got this, but what does that mean? Because sometimes the numbers or the box score don't tell the whole story. Okay, this guy only got 29% of snaps. Well, hold on a minute. Fourth quarter, he played every down. He was 100% linebacker, wore the green dot. So sometimes it's fun to look at that stuff. And you said it yourself. It just makes you a better journalist. It makes you a better broadcaster. You know what I mean? To know all those things. So it's a really fun article to do. I'm going to tell you, Leo, you may not know this. Over on the Fantasy Six Pack, Jamie does an article. It is such a smart article. He takes all the wide receivers. He takes all the cornerbacks. He does all the matchups. He does all the trends. Jamie, you're the perfect fusion of an offense and a defensive guy. I was going to ask you about your trends and your players, and maybe there's some stuff that you've seen that us IDP guys, we got our lenses on, and we don't see things outside our peripherals.
Actually, I did see one. Maybe actually Leo, being the defensive guru he is, can shed some light on this. But the Baltimore Ravens, they have a strong run defense, right? But they're one of the easiest teams to pass against. They rank third in run defense, but 30th in pass defense. In last week 8, Jameis Winston, he threw for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns against them. And that was the 4th straight quarterback who finished as QB 11 or better in fantasy versus the Ravens. The Ravens allowed 4 300-yard passers this season because of their coverage issues. So what's the deal with the Ravens coverage issues? Because if the Ravens want to be a true contender, they need to improve that pass defense. Not just the run defense, because this is the league we're in now. You win through passing. So what's up with Ravens pass defense?
Well, yeah, and I think they were out their top couple of corners this past week too. So they were out with Marlon Humphrey was out, and then they benched Marcus Williams for some reason in the safety. So Eddie Jackson was out there, playing more than he typically plays. So they were at a disadvantage this week. Not that they've been playing that much better before, but they dropped 3 interceptions too. Jameis Winston is known for throwing interceptions, and I read a stat that said they're the only team that's dropped 3 interceptions this year, and they've done it twice already. They did it against Buffalo too, which we know Josh Allen, he can throw interceptions with the best of them. I mean, obviously he's everybody's quarterback, whatever, number 2 or 3 or whatever, but people forget he does throw a good number of interceptions, but they've done it twice already this year that they've dropped 3 interceptions in a game. Like I heard they were doing, they had the DBs doing drills of catching balls at practice today. Like, it's like they got to hold on to the ball. Kyle Hamilton could have clinched the game this past week against the Browns, and he just dropped one that was like, it wasn't even like anybody in the area. Like it was just like it was thrown to him and he dropped it. So, they got to get clean that up if they want to be a contender. That's for sure. I mean, I've seen a little bit of Humphrey play. I mean, he's not getting any younger, but he can still kind of make some, force some fumbles. He can make some interceptions. He might be not as strong as coverage as he used to. Like he used to be a little bit more shut down, but they got to get that cleaned up. I mean, the best teams have a strong passing attack, and they're going to have to face that in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they just lost to the Browns, so what's to say they aren't going to lose to the Broncos? Because Bo Nix, he's been solid lately.
Has he? Oh my goodness, that's a pickup.
Yeah, he was my streamer of the week last week. Remember?
Yeah,
and I could see him having a great game this week. Bo Nix didn't even use his rushing ability. Remember that 60, 70 yards I said he could have? He only got like 4 yards rushing last week, and he was still a top quarterback. So this week, I'm starting Bo Nix. I think Cortland Sutton could be a sneaky play again this week. I'm going to play every single quarterback versus the Ravens until they show me something.
So, Leo, this article he writes, it's insane. He breaks down every wide receiver corner and then flips it, cornerback, wide receiver. He talks about the terrain, what they ate for breakfast. It's 60 degrees outside. I don't know how you do this either. I got 2 geniuses on the pod. I'm just going to sit back and listen what you have to say about their
So with my article, what I like to do is I like to pick out 3 amazing opportunities for wide receivers that are going into the week versus week cornerback. People that most likely aren't going to be starting, but you could use them as a flex. And then I take the top players going against the top cornerbacks, and I kind of tell them to chill out on them. Don't expect this much. Let's sit this guy this week. I mean, it's been working out at least 70% of the time.
And what gave you the what made you come up with that idea to do that? I'm just curious.
It's just something I've done for the past 15 years. I always look at the matchups when I start receivers. I look at who they're going up against, how good are these cornerbacks, how often they shadow, how many catches they allow, how many targets they allow. And I just decided just to put it in an article.
About how many players,
Jamie?
I was going to ask Jamie about how many players right now on any given week are actually shadowing a guy 100%.
The top shadow corners, it's probably around 65%, I would say. I know Christian Gonzalez is up there. I think he was number 3 last I checked. So, I mean, they don't shadow the guy 100% of the time. I also try to look at how many snaps they play in the slot compared to the outside, if they shadow to the slot. So it's not an exact science.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying, just this guy may shadow only 65% of the time. So that means there's still opportunity for this receiver. You just have to temper your expectation on when he is facing them.
I think the secret ingredient for you with this too is because you did for years on goingfor2.com. You were like an offensive guy and you used to do the wide receiver cornerback matchup. When you came over to Joe, you're like, let me just flip it. Maybe just use that offensive talent and kind of redefine that using IDP skills too. That could be. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but kudos to you. Do you have any other trends before I go to the Thursday night football stuff?
Just real quick, J.K. Dobbins, his efficiency numbers are trending downward. Like in the past, we all know J.K. Dobbins has dealt with injuries his whole career. So it was nice to see him start strong this season, but people are still holding on to that. In his first 2 games, he averaged 135 scrimmage yards per game, on just 52.9% of snaps, right? So over the past 5 games, his production has dropped to 70.4 scrimmage yards per game, despite getting a 72% snap rate. So recently, he's been facing weaker run defenses like Arizona and the Saints. Dobbins still ranked RB16 or lower in like half PPR rankings, making it unlikely for him to progress the rest of the season. So like entering week 9 right now, I'm selling Dobbins, sell high if you can. But given his recent struggles, I'm stashing Kamani Vidal just because later in the season, I could see him having a larger role.
That was a player we rookie prospected. You held him in high regard too. I remember when we did those videos over here on the RPO show. We did the top 100. But yeah, you like Vidal as a prospect, don't you?
Oh yeah, he's electric, man. I mean, he got a touchdown, his first ever touch in the NFL.
Gotcha. Hey, on that note too, before we kick Thursday Night Football, I want to just reference one of our sponsors over at the IDP Center. If you just do want to peruse this thing, you get additional 10% off if you use the promo code IDP Hunter. But this thing's pretty cool. You got over 350 managers that are in this chat room, this Discord. They're helping people out. You know what I mean? They have this whole entire thing dedicated, free best ball drafts, free league play. There's money leagues as well. What I like is I go in here as well, talk to the fellas and everything. What I like is the custom league analysis they do. If you sign up, they do like a 10-page spread on your dynasty teams, your rookie teams, your redraft teams. They also have this dynasty trade chart, which I enjoy looking at. Just like, I don't know how you are, Leo and Jamie. I kind of look at stuff like, okay, I kind of know the values. And I hate trade charts because they're frustrating. You know, one league will say Devin Singletary is worth the price of Justin Jefferson. Then another chart will say, well, this league, Justin Jefferson is the price of TJ Watt. Well, what's the difference? You know what I mean? So it gets on my nerves, especially when they're combining IDP. This is probably one of the better, more accurate ones, and it combines all the different types of scoring. So if you guys get a chance, check out the IDP Center. They came on the show a lot. We do mock drafts with them, what have you, in the off season. It's a fun little place to get your IDP fix in between the week, in between articles. All right, I guess you want to kick off Thursday Night Football, fellas. Where do you want to go with this? What do you want to talk about first?
I mean, let's first say the Texans are facing the Jets. Jets are playing at home, right?
He's good, right?
I think I saw the Jets are actually favored. Is that right?
I believe they are, yes. Because, I mean, it is a home game, and you got to remember the injuries on the other side of the ball. The Texans are not doing so well, man. They got their top 2 receivers out. So that's why I'm downgrading C.J. Stroud outside of my top 20. Not only that, because of the injuries of the wide receivers, but he's also facing DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner, who has been electric. They're the 2 best tandem cornerbacks in the league, right? Am I wrong, Leo?
Well, I looked at the PFF grades today, and they actually have Sauce Gardner as the 3rd ranked coverage grade on the Jets this week. You know, season to date, they've got DJ Reed and then Isaiah Oliver and then Sauce Gardner 3rd, which, you know, usually Sauce Gardner is not on a 3rd of any list, let alone his own team. And that's just coverage grade. And, you know, that's subjective based and it's based off of balls thrown at him and everything. But yeah, you go back to a year or 2 ago, and yeah, these were 2 of the top 10, graded corners in the whole league. So yes, Sauce Gardner has been, I haven't been watching as much of him this year, but I've seen him get beat a little bit on some highlights, but historically, the last couple of years, he's one of the best in the whole league. So,
yeah, going into last week, I believe I seen he allowed 10 receptions, but he was only targeted 15 times. So DJ Reed was actually doing better than him, only allowing like 1.3 catch per game.
Something I was reading, it was in your article, Jamie, too. You're talking about, you mentioned injuries. You said what? Steven Diggs, he sustained that ACL. And then what was it? Nico Collins got the IR. So they're hurting. They're decimated. But even still, the Texans are still producing points. They're going, 26.6 points per game since week 6. I don't know how they're doing it. You think the Jets with their top players there, you think them top players are going to stop them outright? What are you thinking? Think they'll keep going?
I mean, so I believe the Texans, the last 4 games, they allowed 20. I can't remember that. But anyway, Mixon's the only chance that the Texans have to win this game. The Jets have allowed 20 points to running back 6 of their last 8 games. The past 2 weeks, they had like a 24-point running back and 27-point running back. One of the weeks, I think it was week 1, they had 30 points allowed to the running back position. So it's safe to say, like, with all these injuries going on with the Texans receivers, it's going to be a Joe Mixon game. If
I like that.
Hands.
I was going to ask Leo that too, actually, because, us thinking we're defense, right? Joe Mixon's averaging 4.9 yards per carry since he's been back. Do you think the Jets defense, all them big dudes up front, the Quinn Williamses, the Quincy Williams, the brothers, you think they got enough what it takes to stop that in its tracks? I agree with you, Jamie. I think it's going to be a running game. They're going to see who can dictate the scrimmage. Who in the trenches are going to win that line of scrimmage. You know what I mean? But Leo, you think it's a favorable matchup for the linebackers?
I'm looking at Quinn Williams. I think they've got some offensive guard that's a backup or something. They've got some issue at guard. I think left guard, which is going to be right where Quinnen's going to be. I think he's got a good matchup this week. I think he could get in there and make some pressure. I mean, at the linebacker, Sherwood, is playing pretty well. I mean, I think Mosley's a little bit better in run defense, but he's lost a little bit of step in coverage. The Jets are also banged up they've got none of their safeties are there. Like they're running a cornerback, a couple of corners out there as safeties. Jalen Mills, everybody was a corner for a while, and he's kind of converted safety, but like they're starting him and Isaiah Oliver, was also a corner. So they're running 2 corners out there as safeties this week. And that's what they did last week too. So they're out, Tony Adams is out, Chuck Clark's out, Ashton Davis. So their top 3 safeties are all out. So they're running a couple corners out there at safety. So even though they got Sauce Gardner and they've got DJ Reed, they also have some holes in that secondary on the back end.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask Jamie one too. The Jets have been a darn circus. They have been the whole damn year, but I will say, they got a couple things going for them. Do you think they can do anything? Okay, how about I rephrase it? The Texans' strength is their pass rush. They got the number 3 pass rush in sacks and number 8 pass rush in pressures. Do you think that Jets offense got enough to mix it up to get some juice going? Maybe, albeit Breece Hall or maybe Garrett Wilson?
Well, here's the thing. So the Texans, they're actually the 10th best matchups for quarterbacks. So I kind of like this for Rodgers. They allowed 245 yards per game, at least 2 touchdowns per game, and they're only getting like 1 interception per game.
Good.
So out of those 16 touchdowns that were allowed all year long from the Texans, 11 went to the wide receiver position. So Adams might get his first touchdown. If you look at the betting, the betting Vegas thinks that Adams is going to get a touchdown, not Garrett Wilson. But here's the thing: Garrett Wilson leads the league in targets. He's got 10.4 per game. He saw like a 20 target game one week, but still, he's still seeing at least like 8 to 10 targets per game. He's also seeing a 34% target share in the red zone. He hasn't seen a touchdown since week 6. So this could be a week, like they say, that positive regression. I could see Garrett Wilson getting that touchdown, and it's at a plus 170 compared to the Adams, who hasn't had a touchdown from Rodgers since years ago. That's at a plus 130. So my bet would be Garrett Wilson touchdown, but I wouldn't rule out an Adams touchdown also. So maybe parlay those together, up the odds.
Yeah, I was thinking, where's tackle box when we need him, right, Leo? He'll be on in a couple of weeks, but I mean that's a sweet little pick you just had right there. You know, question. I'll ask both of y'all this. Usually Thursday night, you stay away from those players on off. And I don't have an answer. I'm just asking, just vaguely. Offensive players, you tend to kind of stay away from if you got better options. What about on defense? Like IDP, do you favor those matchups, Leo, because the offenses are bad? Do you stay away from it? Or are you neutral? Do you have any, Leo or Jamie, do you have any preferences when you're dealing with Thursday night players?
I mean, the good thing about a Thursday player is the fact that you can lock them into your lineup and get them in and not have to worry about injuries later in the week.
Right.
Occasionally you run into like, well, you think the guy's going to play, but like, well, if I had known that, like I would have put him in there, like this past week, with Puka Nacua on Thursday night, like how much is he going to play? And it's like I had Deontay Johnson who was questionable, right. And it's just like, what do I do here? And sometimes it's better just to play the guy that's going to be out there. I mean, I've been hit or miss on Thursday nights. I mean, some weeks you start them and you start out the week pretty rough, and some weeks it's so I'm pretty neutral on starting I just try to start my best, whatever,
yeah.
20 guys that, when I'm starting offense and defense, my best 20 guys out there, and just kind of not worry too much about what day it is. But sometimes Thursdays can be a little bit of a dud.
That's a good way to look at it, though.
They might want to try to
clear out of the way at least. I don't have to worry about it.
Sometimes they may want to pull their starters later earlier than they would typically do, because they want to get those guys a little bit of extra rest. I mean, it's a blowout. Sometimes these Thursdays turn into blowouts, and they want to get those starters off the field and get them that rest that, like, when they only play on, 4 or 5 days between games, like they want to get them a little bit extra rest. So I think I've seen that a few times where the starters get pulled a little bit earlier in the fourth quarter on a Thursday than they would typically come out.
Yeah, and even like playing on a Sunday before the Thursday game, I noticed like Breece Hall, like since that coaching change a few weeks ago, he's seen an increase rushing opportunity, and he's seen an increase in his target share until last week.
Here, tea kettle brewing.
He's seen a dip, right? But that could have just been because the Jets were saving him for that short week so they can use him on this Thursday night game.
We'll see.
So yeah, like even looking at the week ahead, who's playing on that Thursday, and you have a start-sit decision on that Sunday before. Look and see who's playing on that Thursday. If that guy's included in that Thursday game, if it's not a stud, maybe think about sitting him, because they might be saving him for that Thursday short week.
I don't really have a favorite this game. It could be 50-50 either way. I mean, honestly,
I'm going to go with the Jets.
They're both trending different. Are you?
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin Leo's reputation because it's sterling right now. Do you have a pick?
I don't have a pick. I stopped picking teams. I mean, I've been trying.
Don't care anymore.
I've been so focused on who's going to get a tackle and not who's going to win the game. But I mean, I do try. I mean, a lot of times what we are looking at when I'm looking at an over and under bet, I'm looking at game script and trying to figure out who's going to be on that defense a little bit longer. And I would say 50% of the games I have a feel for. I think of how it's going to go, and 50 of them I don't have a great feel, and you just try to have to play the numbers as best as you can. But this one I don't have a strong lean on who's going to go. I mean, you've got Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson going up against Aaron Rodgers. So I think to me, I know you guys were focused on Joe Mixon, but it's like, what Aaron Rodgers are we going to get in this game? Like, I mean, I think that's going to be the difference here. And are those pass rushers going to get to Rodgers and fluster him is kind of where I'm hanging my hat on this one. But I don't have a great feel of which which way it's going to go. Thursdays can be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, it's Halloween. At least we're going to see Aaron Rodgers yelling at his teammates. That's one
We
thing.
know that. Put that on your bingo card. Yeah.
But with the Texans, since they have been allowing 245 yards per game on average, Aaron Rodgers over under is only at 232.5. So I like the over on that. Just because you got two elite guys, Adams and Garrett Wilson. I don't see how he gets that under at 232.
Yeah. Do you have any other props
prop bets? Yeah.
One show, Jamie. I didn't even ask you before we got on.
Yeah. So my other prop bet, I'm taking the under on Stroud. That's at 222.5. Just because of that defense, it's elite, and plus all the injuries. I don't see him getting 222.5 yards. I do like the Garrett Wilson touchdown. And since Vegas is telling us that Adams is the better bet for a touchdown, I'm just going to take that too. But I like the over on Mixon and the over on Breece Hall. Breece Hall is only at 67.5 yards, and Mixon's at 83.5. I like the over on both of those. Like, it just makes sense. Just take the over.
Yeah, that's interesting. Hey, I don't really have much else this episode. You guys got any closing thoughts? Anything you want to promote, Leo?
No, I want to ask you. You know, as a kid, my least favorite thing, Halloween candy, was when. Well, not candy, but the least favorite thing of getting in there was like that box of raisins. You remember? Did you ever get raisins in your candy bag? Person passing out those little sun-made raisins. So my question was going to be, who of all your fantasy players has been the raisins and on your team that's been a real dud for you? That's really,
my goodness!
God,
that's a good question, Leo. Oh my goodness! Do you want to go first, Jamie? I got mine.
Well, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So IDP wise, I know that Pete Werner is the guy. I hold on to in my pocket, hoping to have that great game like last week. And I get a lot of Denzel Perrymans, like just because he's out there, and I keep thinking he's going to be something. Oh, he's the captain. Oh, he's going to be the green. Oh, and he never is. They're always rotating. So I always have that one piece of candy that I never use. You know what he is? He's the candy corn. No, I take that back. I was a poor kid growing up, Leo. So the candy corn, I would take the crap no one else would want. I'll take the candy corn, whatever. He's the apple. Remember that one lady on the street? Mm-hmm. She'd always give you the apple. Probably has a razor in it. Yeah, Denzel Perryman. I'll give you that for my answer. He's the razor in the apples.
The penny. Somebody giving out pennies and
that's the thing.
Peanuts and
like the penny person. Like that, for me, I think it's Roma Dunze, man.
Ooh.
Because he's only had one game this year that was worth starting. Every other game he's had under 10 points. But I can't drop him because he has that contingent upside. Like if DJ Moore or Keenan Allen gets hurt, right? And we all know rookie wide receivers always perform better the second half of the season. We're in that second half of the season. So like if you look at his schedule for matchups, all great matchups through week 17. If it's actually the second best matchups for the wide receiver position for the rest of the season is for the Bears. So I can't drop them. Like someone gives me a penny, I'm just going to take it. And I'm going to save it. Hopefully I get like 100 pennies. So I get $1 so I can buy a candy, but it's just Roma Dunze, man. He's so talented. Like he's even talented enough to surpass DJ Moore. I don't know why they aren't giving it. Like last week, I believe he did have the highest catch percentage on the Bears, and he had the highest target rate at like 27%. I just can't see him not doing anything this whole season. He's so talented. You gotta save him up. Save him up. Save those pennies.
I can argue Nick Bolton too a little bit, Leo. Everyone's thinking, years ago, Nick Bolton. I mean, he'll have games, but he's not the same player. I would say there's some IDP owners out there, Bobby Okereke, they're still clutching him. I ain't gonna tell you what show, but somebody who doesn't have a great reputation was talking about Bobby Okereke as their LB3. I'm like, you guys are crazy. Have you watched a game this season? You know, so those are my what'd you say, raisins earlier? Those are my bad trick or treat bags right there.
I got one more raisin for you, man.
Who you got?
Hassan Reddick, dude. Like, I've held him all freaking year, and then all of a sudden says he's going to start. I don't even think he got me 1 point. Like, he only got like 30-some% of the snaps, and I was like, what's going on with this guy? Just trade him. Trade him already. Trade him or play him.
Yeah. So going into the week, this is on total scoring. I had Okereke at linebacker. I think he was just outside the top 30 in scoring average. Let me see here. Let me pull this up. But he actually he finally had his good week. So everybody was probably talking smack about Okereke last week. Let me just pull up here. He was right at 29th at scoring average at linebacker. But then after this past week, he jumped up into scoring average. He jumped up to, let me get this right here. He jumped up to 25 in scoring. He scored 25 points this past week. So he finally had his good game. But yeah, people were writing him off. He finally produced a game that everybody's been waiting for. But for me, my raisins was basically the whole Matthew Judon and the whole Atlanta pass rush. I think last week they were only like 6 sacks for the whole season, and there's a lot of players that have more than 6 sacks when I put a post out. But yeah, Matthew Judon and the whole Atlanta pass rush has been terrible. I mean, I think Caden Ellis at linebacker is probably their most effective pass rusher at the linebacker. So that's been a big dud there, and they would get my raisins. But I want to give a shout out to just all the people that work hard on my team. I mean, we've got great betting people. We talked about Tackle Box, but we also got Jimmer Simpson. Is also putting out bets. And then weekly articles. We got Steve. You doing every down linebackers and injuries, but we also have S.E. Romero putting out. I think he's putting out the start sit each week. We've got Big Steve doing the waiver wire article. We've got Robbie Moore doing the offensive start sit each week. And then we've got Matthew Montgomery putting out some videos content as well. He's dropping 5 players to watch, from the past week. So, we got a lot of guys. Mace was putting out some rankings for us and some articles during the season. And Pedro's back now in the fold too, hitting up the Discord. You're giving everybody those start, sit, and betting advice. So we got a great team. I'm thankful for all the people we have. Just crushing the IDP content and consistency. Like every week we're putting this stuff out there. We've got all the data that you need. Who's letting up the most tackles to linebackers, who's giving up the most fantasy points to defense ends, who's giving up the most sacks. We've got that all on our site, and we've got people doing all that work to get it out there.
He's got award-winning rankings. Like I said, Leo's consistent, Master IDP. The last 2 years, #1. He's #1 again. If you guys want to check the website out, use promo code Hunter. You'll get $10 off full season access. You heard it. He told you. We got everything over here. We got all-star people. We got people in the chat. We have 2 podcasts going at the same time. It's a great site to be a part of. And again, I'll thank you for the guys that can't speak for themselves. Thank you for doing this, for giving us a home for all of our content. It's an amazing place, Leo. So once again, I just want to thank both of you guys for coming on. I want to thank you guys for your friendship. Thank you for just jamming out with me for the last hour, talking about Halloween candy and football.
Yeah, and how fun was it to spend some time together at the Canton Hall of Fame too? That was a good time.
Awesome.
That was great.
Yeah, so for all you that don't know, all 3 of us on screen, we walked around that whole Hall of Fame together, looked at everything. It was a great time.
Who are some of your favorite players you saw some memorabilia from there, Jamie?
Oh, it was like Man, Bernie Kosar, Dan Marino, like all my favorite, Joe Montana, all my favorite quarterbacks.
What about you, Steve?
Oh, I'm a Bill Parcells guy growing up, so anything like that, the old Giant stuff, the old Jet stuff. I like all the Super Bowl rings and the busts and everything. I was impressed with that. I missed the Namath hologram, but I'll have to do that next year.
Yeah. That's the one I was in when you guys were in the other one, and I kept saying, "Hey, come over to the hologram thing," and you're like, "We are." And I'm like, I'm looking around like, "No, you're not."
Fun times.
For those that are on Spotify or Apple or even iHeartRadio, just check out YouTube. I put a bunch of stuff up this podcast. I would say the same things. Check out Leo's amazing site that he put together, RPO Football. Check out Fantasy Six Pack. I write over there. Jamie writes over too. Check out the IDP Center. I do the stream of the week over there. And last but not least, check your lineups. There's a lot of spooky stuff going on during Halloween, right, Jamie?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And if you need start-sit decisions, I do a start-sit show Sunday morning right before the games. Go over to Going for Two Live. I'm answering all your questions.
And, you can get Jamie. Jamie, what's your Twitter handle?
I keep it simple. It's my name, Jamie Perogue.
And then, Leo's Master IDP. Leo, tell the audience where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find my rankings at rpofootball.com, but also I'm also over on FTN Fantasy if you're into, we've got Jeff Ratcliffe over there and hitting up the offense. So we got a strong site over there. So the two different options to get my IDP rankings, and I've got an IDP waiver wire article over there as well. So you come on, check us out. We've probably got just as many betting subscribers as we do fantasy subscribers. So we're a betting site and a fantasy site. If you're into making some money, hit us up on $10 gets you in, gets those picks. I mean, we've been making a lot of people money, but yeah, if you're into the fantasy side, we got that covered. From A to Z, we got it all in one spot for you.
Heck yeah, I love it. We named so many players this episode, fellas, from streamers to waivers to everything. Again, I just want to thank you for coming on. Thank you guys for your friendships. Jamie, I'm digging that jersey. I didn't have time to mention your Jason Voorhees jersey. Love it all. I keep saying to the audience all the time, Leo, you guys keep watching. We'll keep making these. We got a big fan base, and we're just going to keep doing more of these. We're just going to keep pumping the shows, pumping the sites. We only gave you guys a little taste of those articles. Like I said, please check us out. Please check our stuff. It keeps us going. But you keep listening. We'll keep making these. And that's all I got this episode, guys. Talk hard, okay?
See you, Steve.
See ya.